Common Ground Studio here at WKDW 97.5 FM. It is Southwest Florida Live. You are hearing me live. We're having some technical difficulties, and they continue. But we are hoping to get that rectified. So I am not in Studio A. I am in Common Grounds, and I am joined here by Mr. Francel Parker. He was here last Tuesday, and hopefully he's going to be a more regular part because we'll talk a little bit of national issues usually on Tuesday. Typically we have John Olinger here joining us. I don't know if he's next door not knowing we're here or he's just running a little bit late, but he did say he would be here, so hopefully we will join that. We're going to talk a little national politics and maybe a little national championship football. And did you watch that?
No, I did not.
No, you did not.
I did
Okay.
not.
Well, I didn't watch the fourth quarter because I fell asleep. So,
They make those games so late.
no, especially for East Coasters. So anyway, typically at the beginning of this show it's 3:03. I'm not having my lead in, so it's a little early. We're going to do traffic and weather. And that's brought to you by the Fitness Envy Group Training Facility. Looking at 75 right now. It's all nice and clear. I'm not seeing any accidents or slowdowns being reported between US 17 up to and including Laurel Road. So that's looking really good. Venice, you are having some issues on the bypass. Southbound is pretty backed up. So I don't know. It's not being reported per se as an accident, but it's got all the earmarks of an accident. But, well, kids are getting out of school at this time, and it could be just a bunch of kids.
Could be.
Could be. But it is southbound on US 41 bypass. You got some situations on the business 41 too, but everywhere else is looking pretty decent. I'm not seeing an accident, but a lot of slowdowns around the roundabout. Which is typical this time of year in Venice. The roundabout is pretty busy. All right, so North Part, you're looking really good. No real backups or no real delays at all. All the way down, including Port Charlotte. It's just gorgeous out, so hopefully you can get out. A little warm for some people, but I mean, all of our winter residents are coming and saying, hey, we came to Florida and broke out summer. Yes, it did. But it's looking really nice. All of our river bridges are really good. I'm not seeing any accidents or slowdowns over that. I got a chance to go over to, I don't go out a lot, and Punta Gorda is not one of my haunts, but I went out and they are really starting to build up on that Sunseeker Resort over there now.
Yes.
And they got almost looks kind of like a New York skyline over there with all those
cranes and everything. Yeah.
So hopefully that's not going to cause too much issue or too many issues going across that bridge. Right now it doesn't seem to be having any issues at all. All right, so take a quick look at Northport, Port Charlotte, and Venice weather. It is, oh goodness gracious, come on now. Don't do this to me. I had the screen wrong. There it is. 85 partly cloudy degrees. Feels like 89 degrees. We have 58% humidity. South-southeast winds at 7 miles an hour. Falling pressure and visibility at 10 miles. Right now, we've got a high of 85 today with a 20% chance. A little bit of chance of rain tonight. I guess when you're blowing the wind out of south-southeast, you might blow something up from the Everglades.
Yeah.
Keep them snakes down there.
You're right.
63 is the low tonight. Tomorrow, high of 84. Wednesday night, a low of 61s. And then Thursday, a high of 83. Just wanted to kind of touch on this because, we're enjoying a spat of really nice weather. But we do have a 10-day forecast that might change that a little bit. This week you're going to have your flip-flops and your bathing suit on, and if I can get the 10-day up real quick, we're talking about Monday mostly Friday mostly cloudy. It doesn't look like, but then on Monday we have a front coming in. This is next Monday, and that is January the 20th. Now, the 21st is Tuesday. We're talking about a low of 39 degrees.
That's a huge swing.
That's a huge swing. That's like wrap up your babies and your pets and bring them indoors because High of 63 on both Tuesday and Wednesday, with a nice little warm up back into the 70s on Thursday and Friday. So, enjoy these summer-like temperatures. If you're down here vacating for a few weeks, enjoy it, because every once in a while we have a spat of winter. And people are looking at me like 39 is winter.
As long as it doesn't last, I'm okay with it.
Well, yeah, exactly, because you don't get a lot of need for heating and air conditioning.
They just open up the windows
and just let the wind come in.
How's it going, man? Good
John
to see you.
Olinger is in the house.
you.
So he did decide to show up. Did you not know we were over here?
No, I didn't know you were over here. I just got tied up.
Oh, okay.
Something I was doing ran a little bit late. I apologize.
Not a problem. I'm glad you got to come in. All right, so traffic and weather brought to you by Fitness Envy Group Training Facility. They're located at 1077 Innovation Avenue in beautiful downtown Northport. If you want to get fit, give Tammy a call at 941-223-6951. I've been saying that for 3 years. I still can't remember that number. 4 days a week, I'm talking about it all the time, and I can't remember the number for some reason. That's just one of those numbers that won't stick in my brain. But if you want to get fit with Fitness Envy. All right, so John Olinger, ex-CIA field officer, foreign field officer,
No, I was an intelligence officer.
intelligence officer,
Operations
okay.
officer.
Operations intelligence. Oh, yeah, because I'm going. That's almost like a oxymoron.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. I was getting ready.
That's kind of like Army intelligence.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, I love my Army guys. Anyway,
It's too late now, man. You blew it.
he brought stuff.
No. We got it last week.
We
got into a discussion about, it was before the show, okay? And we got into a discussion about Social Security for, non-documented residents in the
Right.
United States, okay? And I went back and researched it a little bit. And in order to be eligible for, with one exception, and I'll talk about in a second, in order to be eligible for Social Security in the United States,
right.
you have to have a Social Security number.
Okay.
Okay, the only way you get a Social Security number in the United States is if you're authorized to work.
Right.
So you're gonna have a work permit. You've got to be on a green card, some sort of asylum status, or a U.S. citizen. Okay, that's about the only way.
Or steal it.
Well, I'm not sure, but I don't know about stateless. Okay.
No, I'm saying steal it.
Well, yeah,
Well,
but you're breaking the law, and you're not going to get Social Security benefits if you steal a number so you can work.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a whole fund out there,
And I think the biggest aspect of the conversation that we were having
Yeah.
were benefits, not necessarily specifically Social Security benefits, but benefits in general
Right.
that are eligible for non-citizens that a lot of citizens are struggling to acquire.
And and I'll be honest with you. Now,
Well,
I mean,
let me-
federal
let me
law will say no, but there are states,
It's
Correct.
state by state. That's exactly my
and
point.
a lot of that. I mean, and
But
this
it's
is
not federally funded. They cannot
Well,
use federal funds.
but
but
the
they
states
do.
are federally funded.
No. It's got to be state.
okay.
state
Medicaid
funding.
is federally funded,
Yeah,
and they do get Medicaid
Correct.
benefits. But also just the fact of in
Oh.
America, we have this policy, and it's a rightful policy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. If you cannot pay, and you go to a
Well,
hospital,
no. This is what they say. Okay. Sometimes referred to. Okay. Undocumented immigrants may be eligible for a handful of benefits that are deemed necessary to protect life or guarantee safety in dire situations, such as emergency Medicaid, access to treatment in hospital emergency rooms, or access to health care and nutrition programs under the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program.
Yeah, that's called SNAP.
SNAP. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And that's when you go in and you see SNAP cards accepted.
That's right.
So
So,
I mean,
but
it's obviously, and listen, it's not the fact I want these people to starve.
No, I
It is
understand.
not what I want them to have a sickness, because guess what? If they're sick and they're really sick and
I agree.
they can infect everybody else around them, I mean, but that's true with anybody,
Trust me,
not just.
I'm for Medicare for all. We've talked about this before.
Well, I'm not, but
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
Yeah.
and so I think the issue is unfettered immigration, and you've seen it. I mean, in matters of nutrition and medical care, somebody's paying for that.
But this is my biggest question. We have things that are recognizable. Welfare is a term that is recognizable. But once you change the name from welfare to SNAP, it's essentially the exact same thing.
It's welfare. It is welfare.
It is welfare.
Yes.
But this is
Medicaid is welfare. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm speaking specifically to SNAP because now you have, American children who aren't getting fed properly.
Right.
And this is a resource that is now being eligible for non-citizens. I'm a firm believer, take care of your own first and then branch out and take care
See,
of everyone.
I'm a firm believer in take care of everybody.
But if you think about this, I'll use a simple
There's
analogy.
7.2 billion people in this world. We can't take care of everybody.
But this is the analogy that I'll use
I'm
to
talking
you
about
first.
the people here in the United States
Right.
today.
Okay. So when you're flying on an airplane, what's the first thing they tell you in your safety instructions?
What?
Put your mask on first,
Well,
then help someone else.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
Well, yes,
and
exactly.
essentially, if your kids can't thrive in their own native country where they were born, and there are provisions made for them to help them grow and thrive, and they're lacking, and now we have children that are coming here illegally. I understand that it sounds cold and callous, but the reality is we have to have the resources for our own children to protect our future.
Well, and unfortunately, what is happening is, there is a shortage of a lot of resources in this country, and one of them is teachers. And so, we are looking at the fact that, and because we don't want to offend anybody, and I am not for offending people, but sometimes truth needs to be said. Okay, so we have a shortage of teachers, and someone comes to this country and claims refugee status or whatever status, and we just continue to add 2 or 3 million people on top of the regular growth or whatever, and they usually move them to towns that can barely afford to teach their own kids.
Correct.
And inner cities that now all of a sudden are have graduation rates in the low teens, and all of a sudden now we're going to put people that can't speak the language,
Right.
and expect that agency to provide not only full education but specialized education, because now we have to teach them in their native language. That's all resources, and God bless, I want to help people, but there's a point to where you really start hurting people that do pay taxes.
Yeah, you're sinking
their
yourself.
kids can't go to school
Correct.
and get taught, because guess what? Now you've got 50 or 60 people in a room in a class instead of the 20 and especially here, like the Constitution says. But if you don't have people teaching them, what do you do? I mean, there is a resource. There is a finite resource. Same thing with Medicare for all. And this is the point that people need to understand. Yes, I would love everybody to have access, and I don't care if you have I know you get hung up on this, and I don't. If you have a pre-existing condition, yes, I want you to have access. All right? But there is a finite resource number of doctors.
I think
There is a finite resource number of hospitals.
So what are you going to do?
There is a finite resource number of medical professionals.
Right.
And if you make it free, like Bernie Sanders says free, I want you to think, next time he says free, I want you to say free buffet for everybody. Free buffet. Now, if you go to a free buffet and it's open to every single person and they have to be seen, they have to be fed, you're either going to get really shitty quality, excuse my French, really bad quality food, and you're probably not going to get there very often.
So who gets treatment and who doesn't? Who makes that decision?
And I don't have the answer to
Yeah,
that.
I know
And
you
I
don't.
will tell you right now, there are tons and tons and tons of, I fully grasp, there are people that do not get the grade of medical care that we would all like to hear. But that's true in Britain right now. That is true in Sweden right now. That is true in even socialized, countries that do not have, that do have a centralized single payer medical system. And you know what's happening in most of those locations is they are starting to revert back to, and in Britain it's now 10% of the population uses insurance.
But
Private insurance.
But the biggest issue is
Now who gets that private insurance? It ain't the poor people.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
But the biggest issue is this though.
Yeah.
It's not a federal issue. You have to take this scenario out of the federal hands. We have to look at who's responsible for this aspect. And that falls solely on the state. The federal government is not responsible for our medical needs. If you want to pin it on anyone, it has to be each state making a decision on how they're going to handle each state's problems individually.
Right. And the thing is, we really do need to do apples and apples, not apples and oranges, not apples and bananas. Look at our society, and you look at Sweden, you look at Iceland, you look at these countries, and you've been to most of those countries. You've been. How many times do you know that the Icelandic people, or the Swedish people, or the people from Switzerland, do they go to Burger King how often?
No, I agree. It's a lifestyle issue. I agree. That's
Okay,
right.
so
The
now
people are healthier. I got no
exactly,
problem with that.
and
Yeah.
so they might not need as much. We
Well, that's
have the highest incidences of diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, heart disease, stroke of any place. Why? Because of our lifestyle changes. Now, are you willing to say? I don't know that I am. Are you willing to say, if we give you free medical care, now you can't go to McDonald's, you can't go to this? Are you ready to restrict
Yeah, there's
free access to
Yes.
what they want?
Well-
Or make them, if you decide to do that, and they can judge it, they can sit there and say, okay, you're going to have to take a monthly, bi-monthly, every 6-month blood test. If your cholesterol doesn't come down, that means you're eating bad cholesterol stuff. And now you're going to pay extra. You're not going to get it free like Bernie Sanders says. You're going to have to actually pay $400 a month.
Just to get on the record, I don't agree with Bernie Sanders.
Well,
okay?
he's a single payer.
I don't agree with single payer. We've
Well, you
talked
said
about this.
Medicare for all.
Yeah, Medicare for all, not single payer. Okay.
So
I don't. Okay, then you're going to have to
Yeah,
explain
you
to
gotta
me what
explain
Well, I
this.
will, absolutely will.
Sure.
We talked about this. The Obama model. Okay, everybody.
You mean Obamacare?
Yeah, Obamacare. Okay. Well, we go back to it's based on the Swiss system, which is a combination of, Medicare. I pay for Medicaid, and Medicare.
Yeah.
They pull out 400 and change out of, and then I've got a $200 a month supplemental. Okay, and they charge you your Medicare based on how. I got to stop that. Based on how much you make.
Right.
Now, this
Okay,
is
and I'm absolutely okay with that.
Okay,
I'm not
so-
saying single payer in terms that you don't get a bill for anything and the government pays. The problem with single payer is the government starts to manage your health care, and I don't agree with that. Okay, I absolutely do not. Now, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Okay, we killed this big time about 6 months ago. This is our second round, okay, and I went and researched it pretty heavily. And Obamacare is based on the Swiss system, okay? And they've got a combination, exactly what we have. They call it something different. But everybody in Switzerland is required to have insurance. You have to have it.
But this is my biggest gripe with
So
Obamacare is, once again, I'm self-employed.
Yeah, okay.
So now, based on how much I make, I have to pay an astronomical amount for Obamacare to compensate for those who can't pay.
Well, now no, that's not the way this works.
So how
okay?
does it work? Because when I went to the marketplace, it was almost
Well, no.
$895 a month for me
Yeah.
and my wife. That
But
excluded my
that's,
children.
That's a different problem. You're talking about the cost of medical care. We've got the highest. I went through the numbers and I tried to find my folder before I came here because I researched this pretty heavily. We've got the highest per capita cost of medical care in the world.
Well, you
You
do know
remember
that's
that? You
lifestyle.
remember that?
But that
I
is
don't
because-
deny it.
But I
don't
don't know what
deny
it is. But the next below us is Switzerland, and they're half of.
But
what
you
we
can't.
do.
You can't. If we're going to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges,
Yeah.
look at their civilization. Look at their culture. they're naturally a thinner people. They don't eat as much refined sugars. So when you look at their medical expenses, you have to look at the culture and the practices of the people.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Are we willing to,
What?
if we accept Medicare for all? I mean, you start seeing it in places like New York. Whenever Bloomberg, when he was the mayor, he restricted 32-ounce Coca-Colas.
I got no
Why?
problem with that.
Because
They're
almost
unhealthy.
don't. As much as I'm against refined sugar,
Yeah.
I can. But I don't know that the government has the right to
So
do that.
whenever you get the government involved,
Well,
you have to give up
no.
some aspect of freedom. There is a cost.
Yeah, I know, but you know, obvious health risks like smoking. They moved the smoking age to 21 last month.
Right.
I don't know if you guys are aware.
Yeah, I
Yes.
do know that.
It's started in Ohio, too.
Some states, you know, they were talking 45 in Hawaii, which I happen to agree with. I mean, known medical issues, and if you well, your insurance, if you go to private insurance and you mark down that you smoke, you got a real problem. Okay.
Well,
Someone
and
tell me.
again, okay, so
But I'm okay with that.
So should
okay?
that be an extra cost to them if
Yes,
they
it
choose?
absolutely should be.
If you're an
Okay,
alcoholic
But
or
now-
you're a drug user, but then we're going to get back
Well,
to
it
the
depends on
argument.
whether it's a medical problem.
But the real
okay?
issue is now you have these costs, and now once again you're missing the drawback to this. Is now no longer affordable. So now with all of these things, okay, you drink, you smoke, you have to pay this additional amount, this additional amount.
Well-
we're back to the same place where we have people who still aren't covered.
The root of the problem, in my opinion, okay, the root of the problem is the cost of medical care in the United States. Okay, the way the Obamacare system was supposed to work was that the healthy young kids were going to pay for the old people on the verge of dying. Okay,
But when you
which
look at
I'm
the
kind
healthy,
of okay with.
but the healthy
okay?
young kids aren't generating enough income to take that burden on.
And the unhealthy old people are not receiving the Obamacare because they're on Medicare.
We have somebody in the audience.
Yeah, I didn't even
That's speaking up.
Who's actually in healthcare?
I know. So if you want to grab a seat, and
Yeah, join us
Justin
in this
Cody
room.
Willis just happened to come into the studio here. Grab a chair somewhere, and you can come up and share my microphone. And
I heard the conversation and it was killing me.
Well, good.
Why?
I'm good.
well, you know, it's still a situation because and I think one of our commissioners had a situation about the vaping and the smoking, and as much as I am against the government telling us what we can do, I'm a reformed smoker. I started smoking when I was 8 years
I
old.
quit when I was 40.
And I was like 44.
I started at 15.
No, I'm sorry. I was 48 when I finished quit smoking. I know the effects it has on you, and I literally was the sickest person in the world for so many years. I mean, at the drop of a hat, I would get bronchitis.
I was there too. I know. Yeah.
And so, as much as I would like to say, government, you don't have the right to tell me what I can do with a legal product, I applaud. Like you said, I mean, I wish they would jump it up to 45 or 50 before. If you want to be an old man smoking a cigar or an old lady smoking a cigar, fine and dandy. But to have it marketed to young people.
Oh, no, yeah. But no, if you choose an unhealthy lifestyle, then you should pay for it. I agree with that.
But that's the American lifestyle. I mean, it's.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I disagree. It's changing. Okay.
You say it's changing,
think-
but they still just built a brand new Popeyes.
Right.
I mean, if it's changing,
Brand new
these
what?
Popeyes, it's like these franchises are still growing and
Well.
expanding because you can say that it's changing, but the root cause is the fact that we have to work so much now to where it is harder to make meals at home, and it's more convenient to pick up something from Publix or McDonald's or Burger King, and this is
Processed food.
processed foods. I mean, and it's all about convenience.
Yep.
I come from a family of 7, and I heard the conversation over insurance. I paid over $1,400 a month for insurance.
Yeah.
Over $1,400 a month for insurance, not counting the deductible and everything else I have to pay
Correct.
throughout it, not counting everything that isn't covered. And I heard you say a few times that it's a healthcare cost issue.
It
It's
is.
not a healthcare cost issue because if you go to places like Dr. Gross, where he's creating a
Yes.
solution for the healthcare issue, there's options out there, but the government is still forcing us to pay
Correct.
$1,400 a month, $1,800 a month. I worked for a company that had 30,000 employees, had extremely affordable health care, but because I no longer qualified for Medicaid, or the Obama plans, that meant I had to take whatever insurance they offered me.
Right.
With a family of 7, that means that I took astronomical prices to make up for everybody else. For a family of 7 that goes to the doctor once a year, and we try to go on the same day, that way we can get one cash price out of what we're doing and not using the insurance. There are affordable costs. Going to the doctor without insurance costs you $55. $55. That's not an outrageous price for somebody to go and be seen.
That's not the issue. The issue is when you're 45 years old, you don't have a job, or you work for yourself, and you come down with cancer. That's where the issue is. So
But
you come down with, you have a heart attack, you need open heart surgery. That's where the issue is.
But once
When you have house insurance, let me finish my point, and I'll turn it over. You have house insurance on your house, but you don't want your house ever to catch fire. Okay, you know, that's just an expense that you've built into the system, okay? But you're paying for everybody else that has their houses burned down.
But there's a difference because those insurance companies are going to say, hey, your electrical panel doesn't meet our standard right now. You need to upgrade this panel and make adjustments, or we're no longer going to cover you. And that's the exact same scenario when it comes to healthcare. When you have people who are healthy and younger, okay, we don't have to go to the hospital as much. But when you're 45 and you smoke and you drink and you lived an unhealthy lifestyle, there's going to be more medical costs that occur based on your lifestyle choice. It once again goes back to that.
And the government only forces me to carry insurance on my house as long as there's a mortgage. Once that mortgage is gone, I'm going to make a choice. Do I want to keep the
So
insurance?
you live in a hurricane zone and you're going to go without insurance?
There are
Absolutely.
people out there on the
I lived in a 4,800 square foot home, custom built, and went without insurance because it saved me
most of the people.
$700 to $1,000 a month.
Most
I
of the
went for a
people
year
out there
without
on the
insurance, and-
most of the people out there on the beaches right now are self-insured.
Well,
They
they're
don't
self-insured.
qualify anyway.
Well, they're self-insured because they own mobile homes or.
No, I'm talking
No.
about you go to
These are-
KCK and these
No,
big
well, that's
houses,
fine if they get blown down and they don't have insurance. You know, it's
and they can
it's
afford
in
to
the-
pay it themselves.
But
That's
see,
all I'm saying.
When I worked in a doctor's office,
You're not going to afford to pay for open heart surgery. You
well,
know,
hold on.
Go ahead.
When I worked for a doctor's office, the doctors were like, they didn't accept certain insurances.
Sure.
And I said, well, why don't you accept this insurance over this one? Well, because everyone wants to be at the Medicare price. It doesn't matter if you have Humana, Blue Cross Blue Shield. They look at what Medicare is paying, and that's what they want to pay. So a lot of times what happens is the doctor, the only money they see is that copay money.
Yep.
Because everything else gets tied up in the wash.
Right.
So if you have a culture of people that says, hey, we need to start setting aside a money for incidentals, and you start this at a young age in a savings account, because we're a society that no longer saves. So now, let's say you do need an open heart surgery. Well, I have cash. You can get a cash discount, and the price of it will go down astronomically. I'll use an example. Several months ago, I cut myself. I don't have insurance. Oh no, that was different.
Okay.
So I cut myself in my hand. I didn't have insurance, so I had to go, hey, I have to pay this out of pocket.
Right.
$6,000 out of pocket I had to pay, which was a phenomenal deal for a hand specialist. Thankfully, I had the savings to do that. But if it would have went through insurance, it would have been 2 times more, because the insurance company has to pay their underwriters, whoever else is in the office, their overhead, and that's where a lot of your monthly payments go to, is not necessarily to the doctor or the facility that is taking care
Well,
of you.
if you choose not to carry insurance, that's your personal.
No, it's not a choice. This is based on the scenario that I'm self-employed.
I know.
And even under the
Well,
Obamacare, you're looking at close to $900 a month that I would have to pay just for me and my wife.
Exactly.
This excludes my children.
Right.
So this is
It's
not something that is affordable.
I mean, I pay $600 a month for me. You know,
And then you would have a $6,000 or $12,000 deductible on top of it.
Correct.
We have an insurance problem in the fact that insurance is controlling our healthcare industry. And
Yes.
until we as a society
That's true.
stop
I agree with
allowing that to happen, this is what's going to continue to happen.
I agree.
Because the insurance companies have control because we've given them control.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Because we
100%.
stand here and we make excuses for everything that's happening, and we find 5 different ways to agree or disagree with the person in front of us, but we don't stop and realize the entirety of the issues that it's causing.
Right.
The way that our insurance system is today, is causing the working class of America to be underinsured, and if they have insurance, it's causing financial hardship on these families.
Correct.
This is not helping us.
Well, I
and
agree.
it's,
Well, I will tell you right now,
Yeah,
and you know I'm a capitalist.
Well,
You know I'm an open market kind of guy.
Yeah.
And the one thing that this healthcare system does not have is competition.
That's
and there
right.
is no competition. How many people listening on this radio, listening on Facebook, listening in this room would ever take their car to a person to get their car fixed, and he tells you, she tells you, I don't know, let me fix it and I'll tell you how much it costs. Or it depends on what bank you bank at,
Or your zip code.
or your zip code.
yeah.
I mean, that is how arbitrary health insurance is. You
Yes.
go to the doctor and you say, well, how much does that, I don't know, it depends on how much insurance you got, or what kind of insurance you got. Well, I don't know, we have to bill them.
Have you
So
ever,
you got to bill me before I can tell you can tell. So that everybody gives Trump a hard time, but I'll tell you one of the things that is starting to change about the healthcare is he has told the hospitals and healthcare providers, you must have price transparency.
I agree.
So you need to let us know what it's going to cost before we go in there. So now we can go shop it, because his situation is a very cogent one. He has to pay $995. Then he's got $12,000 worth of deductibles. Well, nobody typically uses that much in a year. So
Unless
a
you're
lot
sick.
of and unless you're sick, but unless for the majority, the 95% of the people that have that, they don't use it. There is a study that shows long term only 10% of the people that have health insurance ever use the catastrophic portion of their health insurance.
Correct.
So there's very small compared to 90%.
Yeah, but that's
10%. Okay, but for the lion's share that has a $12,000 deductible, that's money coming out of his pocket every time he goes. Why shouldn't he have the right to price transparency? So he can say, okay, it's going to cost me. Dr. Gross had a real great one where they did a PET scan. The insurance said it was going to be $7,000. The place he were going to get it said, well, if you pay cash, it's $5,000. But you go to Dr. Gross, and it was $1,600. Why wouldn't you want price transparency? Because 99% of the people using it still have to pay it out of their pocket. So if you have price transparency, now I can say, well, shoot, I'm not going to go pay $7,000. $5,000 might be a little bit too much. Well, gosh, I can get this for $1,600 for the same exact thing.
and it's the same doctor rounding at all three hospitals that are charging different prices.
But this is the craziest part.
Price transparency, people.
We live in a scenario where, let's say I don't want to use my insurance because it's deductible, and I say, hey, I'm just going to use it cash price, and they give you the cash price. I'm saving money
And
by
the problem-
doing it cash price
Well,
instead
let me
of
ask you,
paying
And
the
if you're
deductible.
insured, you can't cash price.
You can't.
Well, that's
No.
what I was going to ask. Have you ever gotten a cash price? Have you asked for one? Do you get?
If you have actual insurance, you cannot use cash. You can't pay cash.
Yeah.
Just don't tell them you
Yeah.
got insurance.
So it's.
Have you ever
as
done
a-
that?
I just paid for my hand surgery. I paid cash. I didn't have insurance.
Well, yeah, but you didn't have insurance, and you knew that.
But that's
okay?
that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's rather
It's still
than him
cheaper.
going. If I remember correctly, that was November that you hurt yourself.
Yes.
So we're
Yep.
talking open enrollment period.
Correct.
At this point in time, you could have found insurance, made an effort, and
Yes.
still spent more money than you spent
Yes.
paying cash.
Correct.
And this is where the problem boils into play. I mean, look at. You buy dental insurance. All right. Well, when do you normally buy dental insurance?
Right before you need it.
When you need it.
Right.
Now, you're going to go buy that dental insurance because you need it. Well, now you've got a 1 year period where you have no major dental. So now you've got to wait. So you waited to get dental insurance
Yes.
until the point that you needed it. So now that you need it, you walk into the dentist. They say, okay, we can clean your teeth and we can see you, but I can't bill for anything that you need done. So that work you need done, you've got to wait a year. You can come back in a year and we'll cover it. But here's our cash price with your insurance. Well, now all of a sudden, it's more than what the actual price was going to be billed to the insurance company because they're making money from you because that's their opportunity. That's the reality of what we're dealing with.
The same thing with the medical or the pharmacy. these pharmacy benefit managers are setting, they're getting, how does Publix allow you to go into their place and get antibiotics for free? People sit there and say, oh, how do they do that? Because they're getting them for like a penny a piece.
2-cent bill.
Yeah. And so if they give you 60 cents to get you to walk into their place. Now, if you would have gone and bought that and had to pay a cash price for it,
You wouldn't have bought groceries that week.
you wouldn't have bought groceries because it was going to be $64.
But instead, you take your prescription.
But you know why it's $64? It's because those pharma benefit managers and the insurance company said, well, we're going to make the end user pay 20% of that cost.
Okay, tell me how I get free prescriptions at Publix.
For antibiotics.
Antibiotics.
Use the Good RX. You download
Well,
apps
or
and
even
you
not.
find it.
If you've got it now, I don't know about the, it's kind of like K-Flex and those kinds of antibiotics. You walk in, you hand them the prescription, they say, okay, thank you.
And
they'll
for
give it to you.
disclosure, I work with seniors going through this every day. So this is something that I see. Not only do I see that, but I see these seniors who walk in trying to find assisted living who can't afford it and have no plan
Yeah.
because of what they were required to pay for or what they were required to do at certain points of times. Now we're sitting here, the only way they could get approved for Medicaid was to get rid of all their assets.
Well, I know that.
So what
They
happens?
go back 5 years.
You
So
move
we're aware of
it.
this.
You move this money into your children.
5
all of a sudden-
years. You gotta go back 5 years.
So
on
I
it.
work in this industry. I
All
do
right.
this for a living.
Okay.
And I understand that there's this quote unquote 5-year rule that's talked about. But in reality, when you're applying for emergency Medicaid, nobody's looking at a 5-year window at that moment.
I
When
thought
they're
they did.
looking at long-term care Medicaid, which is $1,100 a month towards your long-term
Yeah.
care, $4,700 that you're paying, unless you're staying at Northport Retirement Centers and you're only paying $2,200 for a shared room. That's still $1,100 some of these seniors have to come up with. There are people who cannot afford that $1,100 difference. I was in the hospital last week with a woman who is homeless, 65 years old, 64, because the Medicare hasn't kicked in yet, so she can't get the surgery that she needs, so she can't go home because no doctor will touch her because they're not going to get paid for it, and she's at a local hospital. She didn't go to SMH where they have an indigent program because nobody educated her on it. So we have one hospital that provides indigent care, but we don't provide it in the lowest income city within our county. We only provide it up in Sarasota. So the people who actually need it from South County and need to find access to these programs, they don't get the access. There's a much bigger problem that we're looking at that we've got to see that we're facing the reality of.
Okay, but you're
We have-
having a different problem here. I
I'm
hear
talking.
you. I
This-
got
but
you.
this
these
all
are,
encompass-
yeah, this
Well,
is,
no, it's a different phase of it, if you will. But go ahead.
but it's
You're
the
talking
same
about getting
problem.
care to the right people, okay?
Right, but even
But
if
it's
you
still
look
an
at-
income issue.
We have children
I
in
know,
our
yeah.
community that will become sick, whose family cannot afford insurance, and they will end up burying that child because they do not realize that there are assets out there for them.
Or-
That's the
I agree.
reality of America today. We have seniors who are laying in a bed dying because they can't get into a doctor for 4 and 5 months because they're Medicare recipients, and it's going to take them too long to get into a doctor. This is the reality of it. We have people creating programs like ER to You, that way they can go directly to the recipients
Right.
that need it because they realize that these individuals are not getting the care they need because we're now putting them on wait lists 3 and 4 months deep
But
for
this goes
cardiac
back-
procedures that saves their life.
This goes back to
Welcome to
competition. though.
Medicare.
This goes back to competition. If you don't have a choice and you're stuck with a particular network
Yeah.
of doctors that you have to see, I mean, why aren't these doctors rated that are in your network?
Well-
You know, so now I'll give you an example. My wife had to have her wisdom teeth extracted. She had Medicaid. We live in Northport. She had to drive to Tampa, stand in a line for 4 hours to see an orthopedic surgeon. I looked at her, I looked at the line, I said, babe, I'm sorry, I can't allow you to go to this chop shop. You seen people go in the front door, you didn't see them come back out, they went out the back. How is that working? That's unacceptable.
Okay, so what'd you do?
I saved money and we paid cash down right here in Northport at Celebrity Smiles. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you have to do sometimes
We
because
walked
the
in
system
there.
is broken.
All right, so we're skirting around the problem because again, we live in a county that has indigent care. That is Sarasota County. We're paying a tax to take care of these people, and they're not doing it. We are, and so.
And I'm saying that's a different problem. That's
Well, but let's look at it this way. I'm not saying it would ever change, but for the lion's share of people that have been brought up in a care system, because again, 93% of the people have health care. There's only 7% of our population that has none. That's a small percentage compared to the overall. Okay, I feel for those 7%, but there are solutions that we can come up with for that 7%. Don't change it for 93%. Let's focus on the 7% and see if there's a way that we can, without disrupting a whole system, because I'm telling you, you need to go to these other countries and see when they have a nationalized healthcare program, doctors are running away, and they will either go underground or they will move to some little island in the Caribbean and say, guess what, I'll do your heart surgery for here and it'll only cost you this amount. Because guess what, what he was saying about 2 and 3 months, try Britain right now for the first when you get diagnosed cancer, it's 3 to 5 months before you get your first daggone dose of anything.
But you're an accountant, so let me ask you this. Instead of paying an insurance company your monthly premium, right?
Right.
$1,400 a month.
We'll use $1,400 a month, right? How hard would it be to set up an account that generates interest that you pay that same amount to monthly in case you actually need?
It's called a health savings account.
So how hard is that?
Not. You just go to your bank and say, I want a health savings account. You got to have a high deductible health care plan. Okay, now again, if we go back to the figure that 10% of the people ever, I'm not talking about a year, I'm talking about ever use their catastrophic health care portion of their insurance. Okay, if you live 30 years, there's a good chance you'll never use it. But you're paying money. So let's say you're willing to take a risk that I'm not going to. I mean, you and your family, let me finish. You and your family are right now having to pay the first $12,000 out if you have it. I mean, that's typical Obamacare family deductible. Okay, you say, well, I'm willing to take a $12,000 risk. You're doing it now. Okay, maybe even $15,000. Do you know what your fee would be on an open market for catastrophic care with a $15,000 deductible? You might be paying $50, $60 a month for health care. Why? Because there's a good chance you'll never use it. Insurance is the law of large numbers. You need to understand that. Law of large numbers. If you've got 180 million people paying $50 a month in, and you don't have but about 15,000 of them any month or any year using it, those people will still make a ton of cash. Okay, but then you go and you say, well, what am I using most of my health care? I need to go see a doctor when I'm sick, when I've got the flu. That's Dr. Gross. That's primary care. Now, you go to somebody like Dr. Gross that really loves his patients, and he will say, guess what? Not only are you going to pay me my $65, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to make sure you have access to imaging.
Yes.
And I'm going to have access to blood testing and those things. I've told it as many times as people will listen. I used to have the same blood test every year because my dad had a blood disorder, and I used to get it. When I was a cash pay, it cost me over $500. Through Dr. Gross, that same battery of tests cost me $45.
If you want to accept the risk, that's your business.
You're doing it now.
No, you're not.
Oh,
No, you're not.
But look at this. This is how you minimize your risk, though.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. I have Aflac. Aflac is cheaper than actual health insurance, right? So I had an accident. I cut my hand. I had to go to the ER. It was covered. They paid me a portion of that for that. I had to have the surgery. I found out we're getting close to like $3,500 back because I had the surgery. So now that $6,000 bill that I had, I'm actually recouping some of my money that I had to pay out.
And John, when I say yes, you are now. Okay. Again, I'm not saying go without.
Right.
You got to understand. There's two elements of healthcare insurance. there's the stuff you're going to use all the time, like primary care, and go see a doctor
And
and
then
maybe
there's-
get blood tests and those kinds of things.
And then-
Let's take that out of health
Sure, I'm
insurance.
okay with that,
Okay,
yeah.
and catastrophic.
But then there's catastrophic.
Okay,
That's
so
right.
now you're still I'm advocating people get catastrophic care. And I'm advocating that they pay, because if you've stripped everything else out, and Dr. Gross has a good analogy. You would never be able to afford car insurance
Right.
if you sit there and said, okay, I got to buy car insurance, but my car insurance is going to pay for oil changes, it's going to pay for tires, it's going to pay for gas in my car, it's going to pay to clean it. Okay, you would never be able to afford car insurance. You only use
But it's-
car insurance for major issues.
But essentially, that's the same thing that Aflac is doing. It's
Okay.
for accidental
So
issues.
whenever John says you got to be willing to take the risk, when you have $12,000, now he's paying $900 a month every single month
You've got to be willing to take the risk.
you've got, because he's still got a $12,000 deductible. So that $12,000, now what I'm saying is,
It's
tell the insurance company,
$24,000 to provide health care should something happen.
tell the insurance company that you're willing to take the first $12,000 risk, but I don't want you to pay for primary care.
Yeah.
Only if I have a heart attack, a stroke, an accident, cancer.
Now,
That's all I ever want you to pay
catastrophic
for.
accident.
Huh?
A catastrophic accident, like a log falling on
Yeah.
my leg. That's
I
not
mean,
a big
something
deal.
that you're going to be hospitalized
Yes,
for.
yes.
They used to call it hospitalization.
Right.
Okay, so something that you're willing to, you'll take the first $15,000 or $12,000 risk, which you are already doing it under the Obamacare,
Right.
because he's required to pay the first $12,000 deductible. So now you tell your insurance costs will go down dramatically, but he's got the point. Health insurance companies don't want that.
No.
Because they make I'm saying they're going to make a boatload off of $50 a month. They're making ungodly money off of this $900 a month.
We don't use the insurance. So for instance, another example, when I had health insurance and I was first diagnosed with factor V, which is a blood clotting condition, I have to go and get my PTINR read, and it's a real pain in the butt. Sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's monthly. When I go in and I had insurance, it was $30 for every one of those visits. When I canceled my insurance because I could no longer afford it, I went back to the Florida cancer specialist, asked them what it would cost me. Had to sit down with Eric Lubner. $2 is what it costed me every single time I walked in that door for my PTINR read, whether it was weekly or whether it was monthly. I was paying $30 every time I walked in that door, but the cost for the strip to use the machine and for their time was $2. $2. Meanwhile, my deductible, my copay was $30. So I was giving them $28 above what the cost was.
Yeah. Well,
That's what's killing our communities.
And it's really, I mean, that is why I really wish people listening online and listening on the radio and here find out about direct primary care. And it's a complete movement that's going on, and it's unfortunately the politicians don't want it. Why? Because guess what?
The
They don't
lobbyists.
have a big lobby,
Yeah.
and so they're not going to get paid underneath the table for. They are trying their best. President Trump said, "Okay, listen, we have health savings accounts, and we've always said it through the Obamacare that they didn't even allow direct primary care unless you had another type of health care, right? But now they're saying, okay, it's fine. It's not health care. It's a primary care model where you can go see your doctor. But now he's saying, I'm going to instruct the Treasury Department to allow people to take it out of their HSA.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, okay, because it used to be not, because it wasn't considered health care. So they weren't allowing you to take it out of your health savings account. So now they're saying, yes, you can. And now people are saying, well, dang, I've got this money sitting there. Now I can go and buy a very large deductible healthcare policy that I'll probably never use. Again, 90% of people never use it. Okay?
But that's insurance. The 90% are paying for the 10%. But go ahead.
Okay.
And you're rolling the dice on the 90%,
No.
but you're in the 90% range.
No, well,
Yeah,
again,
and,
I go back to the fact
Yeah.
that let's concentrate on the 7% of people that don't have it, that need it. For some reason, they've got they either have a condition they can't do, or they're just not affording it. Let's concentrate on the 7%, and let's see if we can get them help at a lower cost than trying to change it for 100% of the people. And they tried that through Obamacare, and God bless him, he tried.
You tried.
He didn't work. It didn't work. Now he can't afford it because it's $900 plus
Then
$12,000.
So check this out. It was still cheaper to take the penalty than
I
it was
know,
to pay
I know.
for the insurance.
And that was the problem with Obamacare. You're absolutely right.
So it's like you're gonna
And
pay-
this
fine,
goes
I'll pay the
back to
penalty.
the cost of medical care. We are the highest country in the world
It's
per
not.
capita.
It's not the cost
Because
of
we
the
have
care. It's the cost of the insurance because the
Well,
care
whatever.
is
So
affected
when
by
you-
the cost of the insurance.
Yeah, we don't
And
have
when we
price
started as a
transparency.
cash pay business, when medicine started as a cash pay business until government got in the mix of it and decided to put their hands and to create, here's what you can bill, here's how you can bill it, here's what you're going to do. Until that point, it was 2 pennies for the sutures. Like, here you go. They made it affordable. They made it realistic. It was bartered. Doctors had what they needed.
Yeah.
They didn't go without because
Right.
if you couldn't afford it, you bartered with your doctor because you cared about your health care. In today's society, I cannot afford to care about my health care.
But-
I have to bet on my health being good enough to get me through because I cannot rely on what my government is requiring me to have.
No.
My government needs to get out of my business
Yes.
and allow me to raise my family. Allow me to take care of the children in my home. Let it be to where I can feed them good quality food.
Yeah.
Why is it that sugar is more affordable than to walk in and buy the things that my family actually needs?
Because it's an
Let's-
addiction.
Right. Let's focus on working as a society
new
to
cocaine.
create
Like,
a solution
look
to
at
the
the
actual
effects.
problem. At this point, we're not creating a solution. We're adding more problems to the problem that's already there.
Sugar actually affects the same portion of the brain
Yes,
as cocaine.
as cocaine. Yep.
And if you don't think that's true, go and do that research because I'm telling you, people, that's why everything that you ever see that's processed, we love good taste. You're either going to put a ton of salt, which is going to cause hypertension,
Yep.
or you're going to put a ton of sugar in it, which is going to cause blood sugar and A1C to rise. And who's the benefit of either one of those?
Well, this is the crazy thing. I did a study with
Pharmacies.
our food health class that we did for our homeschool co-op. Even fruit juice, if you take out the fiber in the fruit juice, your body doesn't know the difference if it's refined sugar or not. It is straight sugar.
Yeah.
You need the fiber even in the fruit to break it down to burn off the sugar. So you think you're doing better. Okay, I'm not going to drink this Coke. I'm going to drink this apple juice. When in reality, this apple juice has the same 43 milligrams of sugar that this can of Coke does.
Yeah, but the problem is Coke's got everything else in it too.
But the main addictive aspect of it is
Yeah.
the sugar.
Correct.
I mean,
It's it is
And
interesting.
I will say this, because of the shelf life issue with apple juice or any
Yes.
other juice, they have the same preservatives that Coke does.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true
So
too.
you're going to start seeing
I don't know about
benzoate potassium.
Yeah.
I haven't had a Coke in 20 years.
Well, I haven't. It's not been that long for me, but
Yeah.
again, we've.
Yeah, we're out of time here.
Well, actually, we don't because we don't have regular programming because our server's down. So as soon as our esteemed leader, we can keep talking. I'm not restricted by time. If everybody can stay, that's fine. If not, then we'll sign off. We're going to have to.
Well, don't we have the other show that comes on behind us?
No,
That's not
there
the-
is because the server's down, and
Why not?
I'm just telling you, there's technical issues with our server out in Arizona, and so we can't connect with them. So things that we have put on the server to play and all of that, we can't do.
No,
So
I
we're
know.
actually running it through
I
here.
know what the technical issues are.
They don't.
I know. But anyway, I understand that. But isn't there a live show on behind us?
No.
Oh.
No, this is Tuesday. It's actually the constitutional guy. I think is, but he's not doing it today. I think that's a That is a recorded show.
Yeah, that's right. We can't do recorded shows.
No. So anyway, one of the things that I kind of wanted to touch on is, and if you're free to stay here, we'll talk about it a little bit. I think I've kind of just found the itch that I can't scratch, and it came out that President Obama not only gave that money and really didn't notify Congress and didn't do the things that he should have to give that money to Iran, but he openly and his administration openly testified, and this was from the Washington Post. And the most interesting thing is this is from a report in 2018, and it is just now coming out. Because why? The media was so in tuned on impeaching Trump and collusion and all this stuff that never went anywhere. They completely missed the mark on the fact that Obama not only didn't follow the rules on giving the money, okay, he then allowed, even though he was telling Congress and he was telling the media and everybody else, he allowed the Iranians access to American financial markets to release more money.
Wow.
And he was telling everybody, because it's against the law to do that. That was a congressional sanction. And he allowed that. But where do we hear this? Where are we hearing that President Obama did all of this? And we're complaining about, whether he's guilty or not. I think he just doesn't know the rules. Sometimes he steps his foot in it. But Trump probably got on there and said, well, you watch me. And afterwards, his people were saying, well, you really shouldn't have said that, Mr. President. Okay, I back it up. I not want anything. I mean, he complained 2 days later, I didn't mean anything by it. But they're impeaching the guy over it. But Obama broke the law on numerous occasions, allowing the Iranians access to U.S. markets and pressured foreign markets, foreign banks, to also allow them to reduce sanctions and get money out. And not a word. Not one earthly word. I mean, they're like crickets. And I'm going, that's the itch right there. That's the itch.
Well, I'm not defending what happened with Obama, okay? I'm not knowledgeable enough. But I do know this, okay, that all this was part of the treaty that John Kerry came up with, okay, with the Iran nuclear deal, okay? And what they did was they agreed to unfreeze Iranian funds being held in the United States. Now, I'm not sure, and then that was part of the deal.
Can I ask you one question?
I don't know what was legal, what was not.
What is the typical, if you wanted to do a deal in Botswana, okay, you're going to get the Botswana Central Bank and the U.S. Central Bank to come together, and you're going to have some kind of financial transaction, and is usually in this day and age digital. They don't do it like they used to, take boatloads of gold over to Botswana and boatloads of whatever. They do it basically on a digital scale. Why did they have plane loads? If it was,
but it was Iranian funds. I have no idea why it was.
But it was in Swiss francs. But why did they take $400 million in Swiss francs?
I have no idea. But,
the Swiss are the biggest bankers in the world. There would not have been any issue with them saying, "Okay, I'm gonna put $400 million worth of Swiss francs into your Iranian bank account." But they flew crate loads of money.
So in business, if there's a cash transaction, you can't really change that.
We're not allowed to carry more than $10,000 on our person.
Right. You see what I'm saying? So when you're doing something under the guise of, oh yeah, this is on the up and up, this is okay.
Well, I don't know if it is on the up and up. I'm just saying.
Really?
I'm just saying.
If you
it was part of the treaty.
If you had a skid full of Swiss
when
currency on your personal boat, they're coming to take it from you. Period.
Whether you agree with the treaty or not, and a lot of people don't. I'm not sure whether I do or not. At least we had them at the table. Okay, it was part of the treaty, it was voted on by Congress, and it was approved.
If you get pulled over right now
I know.
with
I know.
$20,000
And, you know,
in
I
your
had
trunk,
$9,500 on me, and I was worried about customs. I know.
well, I'm not even talking about customs. I'm talking about Northport
No,
PD.
but-
They're
but
going
I'm
to question
telling
the
you,
heck out of you.
I'm
Why you
telling
got
you,
$20,000 in
you.
the trunk of your car?
I can't tell you why, but I'm telling you, it was approved. It was not.
But the problem is, not all of it was approved, and that's the thing.
I'm not sure about that.
When it's
Well,
when it's in
and
cash,
they
you
did
can no
not
longer-
approve. They
you
did
can-
not approve allowing Iranians to have access. In
Well,
fact,
they
they
did. They released the funds and they allowed them to trade on the marketplace.
no,
they
they
released
didn't. They said
funds.
they weren't, and they
It's
even
cash. You can't trace cash.
I know.
So that's how you know.
It was all part of the financial deal that went with the Iranian deal. They unfroze it when they took the
Only in
sanctions.
government can we get away with this.
Well, I know.
Only
I'm not
government.
defending anybody.
So
Only
if
city
if my own
Well,
personal
Are you guilty
again,
until
hold up.
proven innocent?
But hold on, my
Again.
own
Only in
personal
government.
military is a terrorist cell. They don't take Visa or MasterCard. They only get paid in cash.
again, all I will ask you is this, and just be as truthful with yourself as you can. If this was the same thing happened, and instead of it being President Obama, it was Donald Trump, what do you think would happen?
You'd have been thrown out.
Oh, listen.
They would have come and arrested him at night.
Yeah.
Only in politics is it guilty until proven innocent. This is the way we play the game. I mean, we're all throwing a fit about an impeachment. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, it's probably the most honest way for him to prove himself one way or another. He gets the opportunity to hold a trial and be proven either guilty or innocent.
Bring
he gets
these-
that opportunity.
Bring
It's
these
no
four
different than what we
people
do.
to the court.
But this is my question.
Bring these
Hold on.
four
But it's-
people to Congress.
But this is unconstitutional. This is why I say it's unconstitutional. If I charge you with a robbery and the surveillance camera does not put you at the scene of the robbery, how can I still have a trial?
Did you get that video thrown out, or did
This
you
is
get
a
it left
political
in
just-
evidence?
I'm
this
just-
is a
my-
political
that's the
process.
problem.
It's not a trial. Okay,
It's-
that's the difference.
Right, and in a trial, so the security and
Okay,
surveillance
then-
shows that I'm not there, and your attorney, you are the accuser, and your attorney gets that video surveillance thrown out. There is no using that surveillance one way or another. It is just now I have to prove my innocence without the one piece of evidence that proves it. For
Okay,
me.
I want you to call Chuck Schumer tonight.
Okay.
And you tell him exactly what you just said.
I'll say
This
it.
is a political process,
It
not a
is.
trial. Because he got right on the floor of the Senate and said, in a trial,
Yes.
that we need to hear witnesses. And we have a debate, and we have this. I mean, he listed all the, in a trial, this is what we have.
The news
But
media
you're
refers
telling
to
me
it
it's
as
not a trial. It is a political process.
It is a political
so guess
process.
what? Then Chuck just needs to shut the heck up because he's sitting there lying to people.
So-
this ain't a trial. This is a political
So-
process.
so
So in a political process, the person that controls that chamber gets to make the rules.
But all
they
of-
did it in the
So
House.
hold on,
take a
Rich,
vote
hold
to
on.
dismiss without witnesses? There are four people out there that know what happened.
What four people?
How do you know that? You
McBain?
told me. You sat
Oh,
right
wait,
here.
wait, 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 wait,
You sat right here on one of the shows. You sat right here on one of the shows and said, "Oh, just wait till next week when Sondland gets there." And Sondland said,
But hold on.
"Oh, I just
Wait,
assumed.
wait. This is
I
the
presumed."
question.
But you told me that was going to be hot. Damn, man, we got him now.
Hold up, because y'all have completely gone partisan in your arguments. Because a few minutes ago, you were willing to take what the New York or the Washington Times put out, the Washington Post put out there as fact, without any proof to back it up, without there being any trial, and you're having a conversation of it. He's doing the same thing. It is no different. You're both
But hold on.
arguing a point.
But
No,
this-
no,
but
no,
this-
stuck
The
behind-
American people
But the-
need transparency.
Yes.
They need to know what happened.
But this is my question.
And you got four people out
Okay.
there that were there in the room.
Right. So.
And we need to hear from them.
But if that is all the case, and the Dems want him out so bad, why haven't the documents still been handed over?
Because Schumer has said he's going to take a vote and dismiss without
But
witnesses.
Nancy's still holding on to the documents.
Because he said he's going to take what the
Look,
documents.
but
why
look at
does
this.
it matter?
If I,
They
if I'm,
can-
if
It
I'm a-
does matter.
well,
It
if I'm
does
a
matter.
prosecutor
He's
and I
some-
have the evidence
It's a
to
political
convict
process.
you,
Remember?
Yeah, somehow
Come
he's
on.
gotten pressure to bring these four witnesses forward.
come on.
Okay, Bolton
But
said
you know,
he's
I
going to
mean,
appear.
you told me sitting at this table, John, there were two people that Venman and Sondland,
Well, they were first.
they were on the call.
Yeah,
Right.
they were.
Okay, they were on the call, and you said that they would literally have, because he was on the call, they could guarantee that he was guilty. Neither one of them
I
could.
didn't say that. I didn't
You
say
did.
that.
You sat there and said.
You
that-
said where was the first hand? Everything was second hand. And I said it's
and
not.
This
and
is
that
the
is the
problem with
my
partisan
question to
politics.
you is.
Well,
I know.
this is the problem with politics, period, because now you have people who have an agenda that they're trying to orchestrate, and they say, "Hey, we really don't want the American people to know what's going on,
Well,
so
that's
we're gonna blow up all of these smoke grenades with this impeachment process, and no one's really gonna see what we're doing behind the scenes." And essentially, that's what's going on, because this whole impeachment thing is a farce. We know that from the beginning. When you have the Democrats saying, "Hey, we were planning to impeach him from day one," why now? Why now has it gotten to this point? It's because there is an agenda that we might not fully understand or be aware of that is trying to come to fruition. That's the only thing that legitimately makes sense, because you take, like a good magician, it's all about smoke and mirrors, right? We have you looking this way,
That is politics.
but I'm just
you
saying.
out of here?
I'm out of
It's-
here.
but I'm sorry.
John,
I'm not sure your name, but it was good meeting you, man.
Good seeing you.
Justin Cody Willis.
But
Man.
that's I can't help but perceive it that way.
Rick, you want to take it over?
Come on, Rick.
I
Go,
came
Rick.
in
Go,
to
Rick.
cut you guys off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come on, Rick.
You know, we were told we could talk until they cut us off, so we're
Yeah.
talking.
He's the cutoff man, right?
But how do you justify it any other way? I mean, it doesn't
Well,
make sense.
And
See,
I
this
will
is
say
where-
this. I will say this. I think that's the problem. Is it's all political, and both sides do it, and we just have to. For some reason, we have a desire to cling on to one side, when we should be looking at, well, the Republicans do this, and the Democrats are doing this, and who wins?
When
Surely
do we
not
start
us.
looking at it
And
as
see,
if
this
it's
is this
I
is
mean-
this is I'm going to say my personal opinion, and this is going to be extremely controversial, but I'm going to put it out there. The Constitution doesn't dictate that the American people be Democrat or Republican.
No.
Technically, the American people are supposed to be independent, picking from which party at whichever particular time suits their needs. And now you have two massive heads in politics that say, hey, if you want to vote for this candidate, you have to be a party affiliate over here or over here, which is unconstitutional. Because now I can't even get this person who I do believe in elected because I'm not a party affiliate, but he speaks truths that I agree with.
Right.
So now you're always stuck in a position of picking the lesser of two evils, when in reality it's one and the same person.
I think I seriously, Rick, I don't know, you can chime in on this. Why don't we do the, not parliamentary as in having 15 daggone little parties, but they literally can call an election within like 3 weeks. and they say, okay, it's time for an election. And get away from.
Because with us, it comes down to the money that can be put into the election.
Well, and we
process.
need to
That's what it boils
somehow-
down to. I mean, think about
That's
this.
true.
And
What
I
happened-
was not a big supporter of the Supreme Court saying that,
Businesses
businesses
people.
are people too.
Yeah, that's what allowed the entry of the super PAC.
Yeah.
Like
So
the
what-
super PAC really, now you're really minimizing the voice of the American people.
Yeah.
That's where the money should be restricted.
Exactly.
Just
I
like
mean-
What
term
happens
limits in
if we-
Congress.
Yes.
So what happens if we start actually being represented by the people that are like us? Like,
Well,
what happens?
but I'll
if
give you-
take away the
Yeah.
financial regulations
But check this
that
out.
allow the super wealthy to control our country.
So in other countries, they have a process where it's a 30-day election period.
Correct.
You have 30 days to put your name out there, say what you're about, and then they make a decision.
Yeah.
Now, you're less likely to spend $3 million on TV ads if you only have 30 days to campaign.
Now, the only thing that I don't agree with the parliamentary elections is that they can also, the guy serves for 3 months or the woman serves for 3 months, and they say, oh, you don't have a coalition anymore, so you got to have a new election. I mean, we do need to have some kind of stability.
Yes.
But, I mean, having $1 billion per candidate funneled into an election campaign is ludicrous.
My question
Tell me
is,
what
why?
candidate. Tell me what politician actually represents you and your interest. What politician truly represents you and your interest today? There aren't very many, because all the money that they're pulling is coming from the big interest. It's not coming from those of us that are on the day-to-day we're out here living and they're affecting us, but these are the people that are making our decisions for us. And this is where the bigger problem comes in. We as the people have allowed this system to shift to where we are allowing the 1% to control 99% of the rest of the country.
But when you have
And
90%
this
of
is
the
not-
country that don't know the Constitution, I mean,
I guess she's telling us to wrap it up because we're getting.
I told them, they didn't listen to me.
Okay.
but it goes back to education.
Yeah.
We first need to be taught the Constitution, and that has to be a fundamental truth for all Americans, period, so that you understand what your rights are and where your power comes from as a citizen in this country.
Right. I agree.
And today's show has been brought to you from People for Political Freedom. Actually, I have no idea if that's really a
The other
thing.
thing
Sorry.
is it starts at a local level.
Yes,
Exactly.
it does.
You have to
Yep.
take interest in what's going on right in your commissioners and your
Yes.
state senators and your
Well,
reps.
and that's the whole home rule deal.
Yep.
I mean, we're
Where's
getting
the
more
camera
and more the ability to not
Let's not
have
get carried away.
ability to not have home rule.
Rich
in
Suggs
the
for
state of
president.
No, you can't say that now.
Oh,
But hey, listen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Yeah, we got a little heated, and it's passionate, but we should always be able to have those conversations and not hate each other for it. We differing opinions are part of what makes America great. Rick, thank you for stopping by, and I'll just say for Francel Parker and the absent John Olinger and the new Justin Cody Willis, I'm Rich Suggs with Southwest Florida Live saying, see ya!